Let's start with the things we're going to do right away. And I want to be clear that in this administration, we have focused on young people. We focused on young people with initiatives like pre-K and 3K. We focused on young people with after school for free for every middle school child. We focused on young people with beacon programs, cornerstone programs, so many initiatives to reach young people, and with close cooperation and partnership with the City Council to focus on summer youth employment, which has been roiled this year by the coronavirus. We need to do a lot more for our young people. At the time of my State of the City address in February, a time that seems a long time ago, we talked about adding support for our young people. We talked about Commissioner Shea's new focus on NYPD officers working with young people to address their concerns and issues, to help them rather than simply deal with a problem after it's already begun, to address it at the beginning, at the root. I said in our State of the City speech, quote, "Our young people don't need to be policed, they need to be reached." And that is the spirit of the reforms we're going to talk about today and beyond. Yesterday, I was in Southeast Queens at Deliverance Baptist Church in Cambria Heights. I had the opportunity to talk to community members. I was very, very struck by a lengthy conversation with two young African-American men, Paul and Benjamin. They talked about their experience, and they talked about their community. And yes, they want their community to be safe, and yes, they understand the jobs of police officers are difficult, but they just wanted things to be different. They wanted a different attitude. They wanted a different respect. They wanted their personhood and their value to be seen and felt by every single police officer and by our society as a whole, and they are correct. That's what we must do. That is a good example of why when I turned to our task force and said, what should we do? And we talked over these last few days, we had a series of meetings. The task force said it was important to address on a budget level the need to focus more on our young people. The need to make a clear statement that our investments in our young people are our future. Policing matters for sure, but the investments in our youth are foundational. I further had lengthy conversations with the Black, Latino, and Asian caucus of the New York City Council. I want to thank the co-chairs of that caucus, Councilmember Danique Miller and Councilmember Adrian Adams. I was with Councilmember Miller at that church in Cambria Heights yesterday, and it was a very moving experience. And the Black, Latino, and Asian caucus has called repeatedly for reconsideration of priorities. Now we're about to go into a budget process over these next few weeks to make the final decisions on the city budget. But I want to make a statement of principle right now that based on the suggestions of the caucus, based on the work of the task force, that we will be moving funding from the NYPD to youth initiatives and social services. The details will be worked out in the budget process in the weeks ahead. But I want people to understand that we are committed to shifting resources to ensure that the focus is on our young people. And I also will affirm, while doing that, we will only do it in a way that we are certain continues to ensure that this city will be safe. Now, the second point, something we've talked about for a long time, and we finally see action on. You know, for years, I have said we could do so much more to create trust between community and police if we got support from Albany in changing state law to allow more transparency in the police disciplinary process, the 50A law that has stood in the way of transparency. I have had 3 police commissioners. All 3 police commissioners have called for change in that law. There's always going to be differences on specific wording and specific ideas, but one thing that has been absolutely consistent, I felt it, my commissioners have felt it, that the current 50A law is broken and stands in the way of improving trust between police and community. I'm waiting to see the final wording that has just been issued in Albany by the legislature of the bill that they will review in the next few days. But based on what I've seen so far, I want to support that legislation clearly. What the legislature is looking to do, I hope they will do it as early as Monday or Tuesday, is take away the provisions in 50A that held back transparency while still protecting the valid security personal information of our police officers. That is the right direction. I commend the legislature. I call on them to get this done this week. Let's make 50A as we knew it a thing of the past so we can have transparency in our disciplinary process and give the public confidence. Now, One of the things that our task force has talked about is the very important question of what the NYPD should be working on and what it shouldn't be working on. What type of enforcement is only the type of thing that fits the NYPD, obviously, when it comes to fighting crime, but then there's other types of enforcement that may not work in today's society the same way, where we need to make bigger, real change. The task force is going to be working on this issue going forward, working with the whole administration to determine which areas that change should come in. But one that we can announce today is in the area of street vendor enforcement. Street vendor enforcement should no longer be the responsibility of the NYPD. A civilian agency should handle that. Street vendors, it's an area that New Yorkers feel passionately about. It is an example of what street vendors do. So many people creating their own business, so many people trying to experience some version of that American dream that often feels elusive lately, but still is there. For so many people of color, for so many immigrants, street vending is their opportunity to move forward. They should not have to engage the NYPD as they're trying to make their livelihood. Civilian agencies can work on proper enforcement, and that's what we'll do going forward. Finally, one of the things the task force heard, and you'll hear from the First Lady and Deputy Mayor Perea Henson in just a moment on their work, and as well on the line with us we have Deputy Mayor Thompson and the Executive Director of our task force, Administrator Grace Bonilla. One of the things they heard as they reached out to stakeholders in communities of color all over the city was they heard that people wanted to believe and know and feel that their voices were being heard. And so we will take an action in the NYPD at the patrol bureau level. We will hire community ambassadors, people from the community, civilians deeply steeped in their communities with the ability to bring the concerns of the community to the highest levels of the NYPD, to bring back answers, including on the status of disciplinary cases, and changes in policing that need to be done to allow better policing, fairer policing, to make sure there's a truer, deep connection between police and community. It complements all we've done with neighborhood policing, but it's another step that we need to take. With